Nikola Tesla, while a brilliant visionary inventor, was known for a number of eccentric beliefs, habits, and theories that often bordered on the strange. These quirks, which grew more pronounced later in his life, contributed to his public image as a mysterious mad scientist, and in some cases led to his alienation from the mainstream scientific community. Here are some of Nikola Tesla's most peculiar beliefs and habits. One was his love for a white pigeon. Doesn't sound too unusual to me. I've known plenty of grown men who had affections for white pigeons as good luck. And most of them were of Italian descent, of which Nikola Tesla may not have been Italian, but he was certainly within that region genetically and culturally. Anyway, this is arguably one of the most famous and unusual aspects of Tesla's later life. He developed a deep affection for pigeons, which he would daily feed in New York City. He even went so far as to bring injured birds to his hotel room to care for them. His obsession culminated in a particularly strong bond with a specific white female pigeon. He claimed he loved this pigeon as much as a man could love a woman, and that she possessed a special purpose in his life. He reportedly spent over $2,000 on a device to help meant to heal her broken wing and leg. And I will further say that his love for a white pigeon does not prove any proof of eccentricity, which is abnormal, as this is a fairly normal and well-documented relationship between man and animal. And then there was the obsession with the number 3. Tesla had a particular fixation with the number 3. He would often walk around a building 3 times before entering it, and he would choose hotel rooms with numbers divisible by 3. For example, room 3327. This wasn't a preference, it was a compulsion that was likely a manifestation of his obsessive compulsive disorder, which he admitted to having since childhood. And I would just like to interrupt myself 1 minute because I heard my explanation saying it was a compulsion to walk around a building 3 times before he entered it. However, there are things that are a little bit more not complicated, but more explainable about that. And one is that if you look in Gemini, one is the completion of wholeness. The other is the Holy Trinity. In some Abrahamic religions, the number 3 is linked to the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. There's also good fortune. Some traditions believe that performing an action in multiples of 3 brings good luck. And then there are examples of rituals involving 3, which is circumambulation, and this is the act of walking around a sacred object or space. It is a common practice in many religions. For example, in Buddhism, people may walk clockwise around stupas or temples to show reverence. In Islam, pilgrims perform the tawaf, walking 7 times counterclockwise around the Kaaba in Mecca. While this is 7 times, it highlights the importance of circling a significant structure. And then there's also the protection or cleaning. The act of circling a building 3 times could be a form of ritual to ward off evil spirits or to symbolically purify oneself from before entering a sacred place. And then the third, lastly, I'd like to say honor and respect. Circling a monument or temple can be a way of paying respect to the virtue and structure of the deity associated with it. Ultimately, the reason is more about faith and tradition than a practice of logical necessity. And the act of circling 3 times before entering is a symbolic gesture meant to honor a belief system or to prepare for the space one is about to enter. So, being that this is back in the 19th century, I'm not particularly sure that this is a eccentric quirk or something like that, but more possibly a tradition carried down to him from history before. Or he could have been just simply entertaining himself with the number 3. I would like to add a footnote here that Pythagoras had a problem with the number 2, which actually resulted in the murder of a man who was trying to figure out the square root of 2, and also that Franklin Delano Roosevelt had triskaidekaphobia, which is the fear of 13. I'm sure if we look further, we can find a lot more numbers and a lot more men who have strange ideas about the number 7, 9, 8, 6, 5, 4, or what have you. And then there was the disbelief in electrons. Despite his foundational work in electrical engineering, Tesla did not believe in the existence of electrons as they are understood today. He subjected an older 19th century theory that electricity was a force transmitted through a medium he called the ether, and he believed that atoms were immutable and could not be split, dismissing the idea of atomic energy as an illusionary concept that put him at odds with the emerging field of quantum physics. And he also had claims of communicating with extraterrestrials. He believed these signals originated from another planet, possibly Mars. He announced his belief that he had received an interplanetary communication, an idea that was met with skepticism and ridicule by many in the scientific community. I will say on his behalf, this was in 1899, and nobody knew what they were really talking about when they were getting radio signals coming from space. So I don't think that that's that unusual that he might have thought he was receiving some sort of a message. Certainly they have things called SETI set up today to record possible messages from intergalactic species and such like that. And then there is what's listed in Gemini as number 7 of his eccentricities, which was unique sleeping and eating habits. It says Tesla claimed to need a very little sleep, often surviving on as little as 2 hours a night. He believed that this was a trait inherited from his family. He also followed a particular diet, avoiding meat and favoring vegetables, milk, honey, and a specific cooked mixture of onions and celery. He believed people ate too much and that his diet and exercise routine were the key to his longevity. Nikola Tesla, while a brilliant investor and visionary, was known for a number of eccentric habits and beliefs that seemed unusual to his contemporaries and continue to fascinate people today. Many of his theories, while unproven, were rooted in his unique perspective on science and the universe. However, I know that there are cases where there are some people who have a genetic problem where they can never sleep. They don't sleep their entire lives. There are people who sleep 6 hours a day, 2 hours a day, 3 hours a day. It's just a ridiculous assumption that this can be attributed to some sort of exocentric behavior, where, he's decided to sleep for 2 hours a day and become a vegetarian of some sorts. It's just totally ridiculous nonsense, and it shouldn't even be counted as a quirk or an eccentricity. But there you have it. So here I would like to add another footnote in that Nikola Tesla's experiments began with electricity in the 1880s. And he supposedly did not believe in electrons. It wasn't until 1897 when J.J. Thomson discovered the electron that it was nearly 20 years later in Nikola Tesla's life that this discovery was made. And at this time, peer review and things like this did take a lot longer. So I think that we can give Tesla a little bit of a leeway as to his acceptance to an electron, or maybe he even accepted it for all we know. We do not know. And if you really want to find out more about Tesla and Thomas Edison and all the chicanery that went on during that time and the full story, check out the book FleetFire by L.J. Davis. FleetFire is the best information you can have on Nikola Tesla, Thomas Edison, and a whole slew of other characters who are completely villainous and without morals.